English, and English to Spanish. If you're on your mobile phone, the simultaneous translation option can be found at the top by clicking the three dots. And if you're on a desktop computer, at the bottom of your screen, you'll have an icon of a globe that you can select, where you can select the language channel in which you want to listen to the presentation. And we ask you to keep your microphones muted during the presentations. And now to officially open our session, I'd like to give the floor to our ambassador, Wilfred Moore. Wilfred, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Eric. It's good to be here with everybody. Good morning in Mexico and in the Western Hemisphere, and good afternoon in Europe and elsewhere. Mexico is one of the world's largest avocado producers and exporter, and is currently experiencing a boom in production and exports. This is fueled by a global surge in avocado consumption, a surge that is expected to continue over the next years. More than half of Mexico's national production is destined for export, and around a third of the avocados that enter the international market are of Mexican origin. While most of Mexico's avocado exports are destined for the North American market, a growing proportion is also exported to Europe. And within Europe, the Netherlands is the second largest destination of Mexican avocados after Spain. Looking at Europe, Mexico's importance as a non-European avocado supplier has grown over the last years. From the 5th largest supplier in 2024, after Peru, Chile, South Africa, and Israel, to the 3rd largest supplier in 2020. While the state of Michoacán is by far the most important avocado producing state of Mexico, most of the avocados that are exported to Europe are grown in the state of Jalisco. For the Netherlands, Mexico, Peru, Colombia, Chile, South Africa are the largest non-European avocado suppliers. In recent years, the Netherlands has grown into a major avocado trade hub and is now the world's 2nd largest exporter of avocado after Mexico. The Netherlands is, after the US, also the world's 2nd largest importer of avocado. Dutch avocado imports are higher than that of any other fruit. Now, while this is all very good for trade, this avocado boom has also come at a cost for the environment. There have been reports about change of land use and deforestation in Jalisco to make way for avocado plantations. This is or should be a concern to all of us, both in producing countries such as Mexico and in trading and consumer countries such as the Netherlands. We also see that environmental requirements in Europe from importers, retailers, governments for imported fruit are getting stricter. At the same time, we hear that our importers are not always able to get up-to-date and correct information about the environmental situation on the ground in the countries where they source their products. At the embassy, we find it important that Dutch importers are aware of environmental impact of their sourcing activities. Importers, traders, and consumers have a responsibility to inform themselves about the conditions under which the products they buy are being produced. We also find it important to bring together and connect public, private, and civil society that are committed to sustainable trade. This is why I'm happy that more than over 180 people have registered for today's session. Among them are avocado producers, exporters and traders, government agencies, NGOs, universities, and the civil society from Mexico, the Netherlands, and many other countries involved in the avocado production and trade. But this shows that the issue is on the agenda of and to a great interest of most of you. During the next 2 hours, we will hear from Alfredo Cuaron, Managing Director of SACBÉ, about the results of a study they conducted for our embassy. Furthermore, we will listen to the reactions of three distinguished speakers. The first, Israel Garcia Ochoa, Minister of the Environment of Jalisco. The second speaker will be Armando Garcia, Director of Jalisco's Avocado Producers and Exporters Association, APEAJAL. And third, Santiago Machado, Director of the Mexican Office of the international NGO Rainforest Alliance. They will also share with us their initiatives, how to increase the sustainability of avocado production and trade in Jalisco. But most importantly, I hope that today's session will bring about enthusiasm, alliances, and initiatives that will make the avocado trade between our countries more sustainable. I'm looking very much forward to the upcoming 2 hours and wish you a very fruitful and informative session. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Wilfred. And as our ambassador already mentioned, in today's session, we're happy to present the findings of a study that was conducted over the last year by SACBÉ, led by SACBÉ's Managing Director, Alfredo Cuaron, a study into the environmental impact of the production and trade of avocado between Mexico and Europe, with a particular focus on Jalisco, the state that over the last years has sent most of the Mexican avocados to Europe. As an embassy, we had noted that while much had been written about the environmental impact of the avocado boom in Michoacán, where up till recently all of the Mexican avocados imported by the US came from, much less was known about Jalisco. We found it important to obtain more information about the environmental issues around the avocado trade between Mexico and the Netherlands or Europe as a whole. We also find it important that importers are aware of the initiatives that are currently underway in Jalisco in the avocado sector and in the field of sustainability. That is why we're very happy to have today with us the other speakers, which were already introduced by our ambassador, who will share with us what they're doing in Jalisco to ensure sustainability in the avocado sector, but who will also share with us what they expect from importers who are importing avocados from Jalisco. And at the end of our session today, we'll have a discussion about the way forward, and we're looking forward to a fruitful discussion and concrete steps for follow-up after today's session. So we all encourage you to actively participate in this discussion. On the screen, you see our agenda for today, and we hope this is going to be an interactive session. So again, encourage everyone to participate. And if you have questions or comments, please use the chat box. We're with a big group of people, and it's easier if you send your questions through the chat box. We might not be able to answer all of the questions in today's session, but any question that is left unanswered, we'll answer after the session and we'll send to you. For now, it's time to start with the presentation of the study. And for that, I'd like to give the floor to Alfredo Cuaron, Managing Director of SACBÉ, who will present the main findings and the conclusions of the study that he and his team conducted. Alfredo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Eric and Mr. Ambassador. It's a pleasure to be here. It's of clear importance that the Ambassador has highlighted for both the Netherlands and Europe in general and Mexico, this particular issue on avocado production and trade. And I would like to summarize this by saying that there are huge challenges, but also great opportunities to have a very sustainable system in which not only our countries, but the planet in general can benefit. I will start sharing my screen. Will you give me just a moment, please? Can you all see the screen?
Yes, we can see it, Alfredo.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, in this very brief presentation, I will highlight the main findings of the study that Eric has just mentioned. This report is available from the embassy, and we'll be happy to share it. I understand most people already have it, so I will just summarize some of the main findings. Some of the main issues on avocado production in Jalisco have you just mentioned. We're going to focus on the environmental impact of this activity. What are the possible trends in trade, and I will emphasize recommendations. What is important to do or continue doing to have a sustainable value chain with avocado in Jalisco and elsewhere. As has been mentioned, Mexico is the largest avocado producer. Roughly half of the production is exported to 29 countries, including Europe, in particular the Netherlands. And global consumption has been increasing globally, almost to a kilo per person per year. And in Mexico, it has already reached 8 kilos per person per year. The growing trend in production and exporting to Europe is still growing. And Jalisco is the second producer in Mexico with roughly 11% of the national production. But very importantly, is the state with the fastest production growth rate, which is a great opportunity, but it's also a matter of concern in terms of sustainability. It's a recent issue, very important in this context, is that the United States that had been closed for avocado from Jalisco until last year opened their borders. So now Jalisco is also exporting avocado to the US, which is the main global market. So this is likely to induce potential additional pressures, but also opportunities. The state of Jalisco is in west central Mexico, is roughly twice the size of the Netherlands and has roughly half the population. One thing which is very important is that Jalisco is very heterogeneous and has temperate, tropical, and arid areas. So it has very diverse ecosystems. It's one of the states with the highest biodiversity, not only in the country, but in general in the planet. As you probably know, that Mexico is a mega diversity country, among the top countries in terms of species richness. The objectives of this study were to analyze what are the expected trends in avocado trade between Jalisco and Europe, and what are the potential environmental impact of the production destined to Europe, and which are promising initiatives that are being addressed or that need to be addressed to minimize potential environmental impacts. In terms of what we did, basically 5 different things. We did extensive fieldwork in Jalisco. We interviewed over 100 people that participate in different aspects of the industry, from producers, importers, NGOs, environmental NGOs, people from the environmental sector, people from academia, and so on. We also had 3 participatory focus groups with people from the Netherlands and people in the industry in Mexico and people working on environmental issues in Jalisco. And we also participated in working meetings of the avocado industry of different sorts. And of course, we did a very in-depth literature review. Some of the key issues in terms of environmental impact are, first, land cover changes from one type of vegetation to other land uses, in particular deforestation, change from forest to any other use, in this case, agriculture. And this comes, when this happens, there are important effects on biodiversity. Deforestation is still important in Jalisco for different purposes. But in terms of what we can say, in terms of the avocado production, a study from SEMADET, the State Ministry on the Environment and Territorial Development, found that between 2019 and 2022, roughly 5,000 hectares were lost. That's around 1,720 hectares a year. And the findings at that time were that of all avocado production areas, 87% were on areas that were already agricultural land for a long time. So they were either already avocado producing areas or were areas that had another crop and transferred to avocado production. That's the vast majority, 87%. But also now there are 13%, which are areas that were deforested for avocado production. So it's still a minority, and it's more than we wish we had. And it's an issue we need to address. No more deforestation for avocado production. And there are governmental policies, particularly from SEMADET, in trying to control that situation. I will speak further about that a bit later. One finding also is that in general, avocado is a monoculture, the way it's been managed. What is well known in agriculture throughout the planet that diversified agricultural management is much better in terms of biodiversity, environmental services, and can have another type of environmental benefits as well. Water footprint is also a concern. But most of the studies on this issue relate to the neighboring state of Michoacán. There are very few. There are few specific studies on the relationship between avocado and water footprint in Jalisco. So this is an issue that needs to be concentrated. We know, for instance, that irrigated land, avocado production land, produces 3.8% more than rain-fed production. And the footprint in general in Mexico, it's around 750 cubic meters per ton, which is below the global average in avocado production, which is around 1,100 cubic meters per ton. So Jalisco is below that, but there are still challenges in being more sustainable in terms of water consumption. Of course, one of the main risks is that there's competition for water everywhere. So particularly in the dry season, this can lead to social conflict when different users compete for the little water that may be available at that time. Of course, many areas in Jalisco have significant water rainfall, so that's an advantage. The avocado production carbon footprint, it's similar in avocado producing areas, slightly lower in comparison to pine oak, another type of temperate forest, which have been studied also in Michoacán. There's a particular study in Jalisco that addresses this, and the good thing is that avocado production also captures carbon, so it compensates a little bit for all the emissions that they may have. Fruit loss is a major issue, not only with avocado, but essentially with all crops, and it's an issue also that needs to be addressed. And climate change is an issue that affects everyone, everywhere in this planet. And it has come here to arrive, and there are projections that because of climate change, around 35 35% of current areas may not have suitable area for production in the future. So they may be, some of the areas that are now being used for avocado may be lost in the future. Of course, other areas that are not suitable now for avocado will be gained. So it will compensate partially that issue. These are the current productions. Habitat protection is very important, and there are initiatives to do some habitat protection within avocado producing areas, but there's a need to increase this work. The major initiative instead in terms of habitat protection are protected areas, state, federal, and municipal areas, and also in the state of Jalisco, there are also voluntary areas. And they're around roughly nearly 1 million hectares, 923,000 hectares are under protection in Jalisco. And there are initiatives led by SEMADET and CONAP for establishment of 8 new protected areas. But as you probably know, last year, the comissioned Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was signed by Mexico. And with that, Mexico commits to protect 30% of seas and land in the country by the year 2030. So right now, area under protection in Jalisco is around 13%. So there's still a lot of work to be done. There is significant progress, and some of the pioneer and leading initiatives in terms of protected area management have actually happened in Jalisco. But now we need to increase the area, and there's already work underway for that. So as I was saying, the main concerns are land use and land coverage changes that may lead to deforestation or other loss of the other type of vegetations, bringing negative consequences to biodiversity and environmental services. These negative consequences for environmental services also affect negatively agriculture in general. So we have to be careful with this. Watershed, when these land coverage changes happen in slopes, this may bring, and there's poor management, this may bring watershed degradation. So we need to focus on the watersheds. And in this image on the right, you can see from the upper parts of the watershed in this area, in the Nevado de Colima area, and on the lower parts, the Laguna Zapotlan El Grande, which is in the lower part of this watershed. And this is in one of the main avocado producing areas. So it's crucial to protect the upper parts of the watershed so that people working in the lower parts benefit. So for the agricultural sector, it's crucial to have all those protected areas or other areas managed with natural vegetation in a proper way so that the watershed is in a good condition and water can flow and benefit people having agricultural production in the lower areas. And also benefiting of other natural environments like the lagoon, which may be affected by agricultural activities in other areas in the upper part of the watershed. I mentioned already the potential competition and conflicts for the use of water, and particularly excessive water consumption. As I mentioned, many of the producers are rain-fed producers, but also there's irrigated land. So we need to have more sustainable use of water. During our field work, we found only a few, 5, avocado producers or producer areas that are organic producers. So most use agrochemicals. So it's important to reduce agrochemical consumption and to switch into organic production as soon as possible. This would benefit water. This would benefit biodiversity and environmental services in general. And this, of course, requires that market for organic producers is developed, which is a critical issue that has to do with people buying this in other parts of the world. So one of the issues is that since avocado production is so profitable, there's no incentive to have organic production. In other crops, when you have an organic production, you usually have a better pay, a surplus in comparison with non-organic production. But this is not really happening with avocado. So this is a challenge that we need to work in both sides of the ocean and other parts of the world, promote organic production and consumption. Siltation and pollution of watercourses goes together with the watershed degradation that I mentioned before. So these are, in summary, the main issue, the main concerns. What I'm glad to say is that there are already different initiatives happening that address many of these issues. We still need to work harder in these things. And I'll just briefly like to talk about the expected trends in the trade to Europe. Of course, the elephant in the room right now, it's the opening of the US market for avocado from Jalisco. And this brings significant uncertainty. Of course, when you talk with producers and exporters, everybody wants to keep their links with their commercial partners in Europe, particularly in the Netherlands. But the fact that the US is just one day transportation by land to the border, comparison to more than 20 days by ship to cross to Europe, that's a significant logistical advantages. And so many of the shipments, and I'm sure APEAJAL will be able to give more details about this, roughly a significant proportion of recent exports have gone to the US rather than to Europe. One concern is that the US requirements as a country concentrate in phytosanitary and food safety issues, and there's less concern on environmental issues. Of course, there are individual buyers and so on that require certifications and other things, but overall, perhaps it's fair to say that it's easier to once that phytosanitary and other barriers are overcome, it's easier to export into the US than to Europe because there are less requirements. But also we have to say that there's a history of commercial tensions between both countries, Mexico and the US. And so it's important not to depend on them, even though they are the main market. And just to highlight this issue, recently, a submission was sent to the Commission for Environmental Cooperation, which is a body created with the Northern American Free Trade Agreement between Canada, the US, and Mexico, and claiming about environmental impact of avocado production, specifically in Michoacán. This is still on the way. This process was in the process being revised recently, as recently as 25th of April of this year. But there are also concerns about production, the impact of agricultural avocado production in the state of Michoacán. So we need to be careful not to follow that path and to have a sustainable production in Jalisco, so to make sure that everything goes right in terms of trade, but also environmentally and socially. And also something that affects will affect the trends is what happens with our competitors in leading producing countries such as Peru, Colombia, and Chile, and other countries like Spain and South Africa, and so on. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but everybody wants to have a profitable relationship. I'm happy to say that the European market is pulling for environmental-minded production and value chain. So this is something we need to celebrate. In this report, we made 16 different recommendations. I have mentioned some of them already. One very important that is being led by SEMADET, the Ministry of the Environment in Jalisco, are net zero deforestation value chains. The leading example in this case is for agave, which is used to produce tequila, and which is a very good example. There are still several challenges to continue doing this with the case of avocado. I'm sure SEMADET will be able to talk more about this. Certifications, social, environmental, good environmental, agricultural practice, and so on are very important. They help to have a more sustainable agricultural production, but they are not enough, as I will highlight a bit later. They are a very important component of this process. Organization of small and medium landholders is also for the potential benefit of everyone in the chain, because there are plenty more small and medium landholders in comparison to large landholders. So if we get them to organize, there would be more avocado available for production and for consumption in that can get to different markets. Some of the people we interviewed, especially small and medium landholders, asked for group certifications, which of course, for instance, the case of Global Gap, they're already available, which shows that there's a need for greater communications with certification organizations and producers, because many of these producers were not aware that these options existed, and also they perceived them to be expensive and out of their pockets, out of the reach. So it's important to find ways to facilitate access for certifications for less affluent producers. I already mentioned important to switch into agricultural, organic agriculture. Very important initiative already on the way by different organizations, notably the state of Jalisco, APEAJAL, el Patronato del Parque del Nevado de Colima, and others are at 3 nurseries. There's a photograph of the APEAJAL's facility, and in which native trees can be developed for later reforestation programs. I'd like to emphasize that there are important initiatives for reforestations led by state government, APEAJAL, and other organizations I already mentioned. But it's important to switch this into more comprehensive restoration initiatives, including all the biotic components, not only trees, but also wildlife and other issues that can help, and having a spatial significant component promoting large areas and large connected areas so that we can have structural and functional connectivity. We need to switch from an emphasis in monoculture avocado production into a more environmental heterogeneous enhanced production with different or many other different plants. We know now that even having a few or a single trees within an orchard changes positively bird communities. But of course, to have viable bird populations, we need larger areas of native trees, patches or fragments that we'd like to continue to connect, as I was saying, to natural areas. So it's important to increase the heterogeneity in avocado production areas. Of fundamental importance, given that all certifications and initiatives by most producers happen within their production area, is to have regional land use plans. And I'm glad to say that the state of Jalisco is a leading state in terms of what we call in Mexico Ordenamiento Ecológico Territorial, They're switching from what in the past were municipal or local ordenamientos ecológicos into regional ones. And it's important to enhance that and complement the important work they're doing. There are also other initiatives like Rainforest Alliance Landscale, and you can see in that photograph one of the meetings of the Landscale in the proximity of Tapalpa when they were presenting this project, which are very important because it's not only important what happens within an orchard, but also what happens in the region, in the territory in general. So together with zero deforestation value chains, these are some of the most important, and certifications, these are some of the very, really important initiatives that are already in the way and that we need to enhance. One issue that is overlooked is that often is that Mexico is the origin of avocado and the area of diversification of avocado. So it's very important to conserve native young plants. There are many other avocado species, which are not, some of them are tiny with no commercial potential, but they have, it's important to conserve these relatives, which can benefit us, particularly in cases like climate change. So these are like our safeguard for the future. So it's very important to protect them. And there are at least 8 different avocado relatives in Jalisco, which is very important to protect. I already mentioned the important initiatives in terms of protected areas. Now the challenge is great because we need to achieve 30% of land being protected. And one particular issue that we detected is that we need to do a lot more studies on all these aspects, because a lot of information is available for other areas, particularly Michoacán, but there are very few specific studies for Jalisco. So there are some in particular topics, but we need to increase them. And given the environmental heterogeneity of the state, it's important to have local studies that can help us to guide management decisions and public policy. A common trend among especially small producers, landholders, was the need for capacity strengthening. So this is also an issue that we need to continue working. Of course, there are important initiatives. For instance, in the Sierra Madre Occidental, in the area above the Colima, there's smallholders that they are organizing themselves, which help them to obtain all the products at lower cost or more efficient ways, and they also are looking for access to better markets. So capacity training for these smaller groups is really important, which can benefit to everyone. Of course, all these initiatives require funding, so it's important to have long-term funding, not just short-term funding, for all these environmental and sustainability projects. So there are initiatives which are important, like Patronato del Nevado Colima, which are trying to fund some of these initiatives, but we also can have a very more ambitious vision in which actually people who is producing and benefiting from this value chain can invest significantly, as some of them are already doing, in environmental and sustainability actions. A very important one, which is, as probably many of you know, is initiatives to have more efficient transatlantic transportation. Hopefully, this would be also reducing global greenhouse emissions. And overall, from producers to sellers in Europe, we need to have a net zero carbon emission avocado industry. So we need to switch to renewable energies and to things that can help us to minimize our environmental footprint everywhere in the planet. So finally, I would say that by definition, agriculture, when affects natural habitats, has an environmental effect. And the larger these areas are, the greater the effect is, but there are ways to avoid this. And avocado and producers that participate in the markets with Europe explicitly avoid unsustainable actions and focus in certifications. But as I explained, these are not enough. There are many more things that we need to do. They're very important, but need to do a lot more. The uncertainty brought by the opening of the US market, rising economic stimulus to produce and export avocado can have potential significant environmental damages, but hopefully important initiatives like the zero deforestation value chains will be implemented in a very efficient way so we can avoid that. So I would like to just finish saying that Jalisco has all the elements to become an example in terms of avocado production sustainability. There are a lot of initiatives already on the way. There are some challenges, as I explained. So it's very important, it's paramount to enhance our work going into the sustainability direction. And I wish you all the best, because I know that the interest in heart, it's not only an economic thing, but everybody in Jalisco is very proud of their land. And I'm sure people in the Netherlands, as the switch has in the economic and commercial trends have changed, are also looking for sustainability. So this is a potential case of win-win for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfredo. For the people in the audience that have any questions about this, we'd like to ask you to keep your questions until after the presentations. For now, we'd like to, and of course, the study, as already mentioned by Alfredo, is mentioned or is published already on our website. So if anyone has trouble finding that study, please let us know. For now, we'd like to go to the reactions to the study. And for that, we have several guests. And the first guest that I would like to give the floor is Armando Garcia, who is Managing Director of the Association of Avocado Producers and Exporters of Jalisco, APEAJAL, already mentioned by Alfredo a couple of times. And Armando will not just give a reaction to the study, but will also present some of the initiatives that the avocado producers and exporters of Jalisco are involved in the field of sustainability. And Armando will also let us know what they expect from importers, European or Dutch importers, in the field of sustainability. Armando, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
Good morning for the viewers from America, and good afternoon for those who are in Europe. Thank you to the organizers for the invitation. My name is Armando Garcia. I'm the Managing Director of the Jalisco Avocado Growers and Exporters Association. And it's my pleasure to be here with you to give the general overview of the avocado environmental impact study that was developed by SACBÉ under the commission of the government of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. To start, I'd like to give a small introduction about Jalisco avocado industry. Mexico is the biggest producer of avocados in the world, and the state of Jalisco is the second producer of avocado in Mexico, just behind Michoacán. But we hold the highest avocado productivity in Mexico, with orchards that produce up to 30 tons per hectare. And because of the diversity of orchards altitudes, in Jalisco, the avocado is harvested all year round. There are over 37,000 hectares of avocado planted in Jalisco. The annual production is over 350,000 tons, and more than 37,000 direct and 49,000 indirect jobs depend on Jalisco avocado industry. We give priority to people from local communities to be employed. The avocados from Jalisco are exported to more than 22 countries in North, Central, and South America, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Our main export markets are Europe, Canada, Japan, and the United States of America, which is rapidly growing. During 2023, the exports to USA accounts for about 37% of all avocado exports from Jalisco, while Europe accounts the 8%. In Europe, the first export destination is Spain, followed by the Netherlands, France, United Kingdom, Belgium, Germany, Italy, Portugal, and Russia. The Jalisco Avocado Growers and Exporters Association represents the interest of more than 3,200 avocado growers and 14 avocado exporters. We work with national and international governments, universities, research centers, nonprofit organizations, and provide a number of services to our associates. We also have the mission to open new markets for the avocado from Jalisco, as we just did on July 2022, when the first avocado containers were shipped to the United States of America. Now we are working to open the Chinese, Korean, and the Chilean market. But none of this could be possible if we don't work for the sustainable development of our industry and our communities. We are aware that climate change represents one of the main risks for avocado production and commercialization. Scientific research has identified the next impacts of climate change for avocado production. The first one is change of the production regions, reduction of overlap between the male and female flower organs, decreasing pollination opportunities, advancement of the time in which the fruit reach their maturity, which will change the harvest season of the production regions, reduction of the period during which the fruit can be stored on the tree, greater number of days of heat stress that lead to a decrease in the size of the fruits, fruit drop, and sunburn, and increased activity of pests and diseases. We also know that the avocado production strongly depends on the services that the natural ecosystem provide, such as soil stabilization and fertility, regulation of weather flows and water cycle, habitat for pollinators and natural predators of agricultural pests, and CO2 sinks to mitigate climate change. Therefore, it's important to preserve natural ecosystems, but even more, try to bring those ecosystem services right into the avocado orchards. I'd like to make some preliminary comments. The study provides an interesting insight into the environmental performance of the Jalisco avocado industry. And also, we provided all the information and contacts that the researchers team requested for the preparation of this study. In the next slides, I'll show you some quotes from the study that were of particular interest for us, and I'll share with you our reaction to them. The first quote states, "It is necessary to invest in engagement to generate further awareness in avocado sector, particularly in those producers and traders that are not aware of concern about the environmental impact of the industry. We believe that profound changes come with education. That's why we share with avocado producers information about integrated pest management, ecosystem services for avocado production, the importance of pollinator conservation, among others." The second quote states, "An effort to coordinate reforestation and restoration efforts with native species within and between production and natural areas should be enhanced and given top priority. In order to make the avocado orchards more resilient to climate change impacts, we promote the integration of native forest trees, and we work with local communities to restore their forests. Throughout APEAJAL's reforestation program, more than 217,000 forest trees have been planted. And just in 2022, more than 1,400 hectares were restored. The next quote states, an essential component in reforestation and restoration programs is to have efficient tree nurseries that provide enough native tree saplings in terms of quality and quantity. We want to assure the quality of the forest trees that we put in field. That's why, since 2019, in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and Territorial Development of the Government of Jalisco, we have produced our own trees. We have a greenhouse where 100,000 units of native forest trees are produced annually. The next quote states, it is of great importance to provide adequate conditions for biodiversity conservation within avocado production areas and the landscapes where they are immersed. Since 2021, we put a specialized forest brigade in operation. In 2022, they fought 67 forest fires, which helped to conserve 6,300 hectares of forest in the avocado production region. And they had participation in 15 reforestation projects in which more than 16,000 forest trees were planted, which covered an area of 360 hectares. The next quote states, social, environmental, organic, and good agricultural practices certification helped to minimize social and environmental impact of avocado production and trade. In order to guarantee the customers the adequate adoption of sustainability practices in avocado orchards, our packers and producers adopt a number of certifications like Rainforest Alliance, GRASP, Global Gap, and SMERA. And finally, the last quote states, a more ambitious vision that incorporates the social sectors of the region is necessary to allow for greater sustainability benefits. We also make strong alliances with other institutions to work in the sustainable development of the regions where avocado is grown. We collaborate in regional scale projects like land scale to build sustainable development models. We partnered in projects like the Committee for the Conservation of Pollinators of Jalisco to preserve pollinators. And we participate in responsible labor recruitment projects with Rainforest Alliance and Stronger Together. Finally, APEAJAL expectations towards Dutch government and importers is to increase the promotion of sustainability certifications among retailers and consumers in collaboration with certification bodies. The next one will be increase the demand for avocado under sustainability certifications. And the third one will be get involved with local initiatives that work to increase the sustainability of avocado from Jalisco and Mexico. With this slide, I finish my presentation, and I appreciate your time and attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Armando, for your presentation about what you as producers and exporters of avocado are doing in Jalisco. Again, there are some questions already in the chat box, but I will ask those people that ask the questions to be a bit patient, so we can do those questions after the next after the next two presentations. As we are a bit short on time. And for the next presentation, I'd like to give the floor to Santiago Machado, who is the director of the Mexican office of Rainforest Alliance, an international NGO that is working across the world, but also in Mexico and in particular in Jalisco, and about which Santiago will tell us a bit more. Santiago, and also Santiago will react to the report and the study that was done by SACBÉ. Santiago, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. We're so glad to see the results of the study, and I'm going to share just trying to be quick because I know we are running out of time, but just some of the main impressions that we have with the study, right? So first, well, we saw that, yeah, avocado production was not clearly identified as a deforestation promoting agent. Maybe that was like 10 years ago. It is true, but right now we can see that most avocado producing areas were agricultural areas and on which other crops were grown, right now are becoming more and more avocado plantations. And the increasing demand for avocado has been promoted deforestation to establish avocado orchards in the last 10 years. And we can see here in the graphic how the avocado production has been increasing in Jalisco and other states of Mexico since 2010. And some of the figures that for us are very, very impressive, right? According to this study from World Resources Institute, Jalisco had in 2010 just 8,400 hectares of avocado plantations. In 2018, 22,000 hectares. So what was estimated for the same study in 2019, when the study was published, was a figure of 40,000 hectares of avocado for 2020. So it was very distant from the 27,000 hectares that were reported. If in 2010, just over 8,400 hectares of avocado were planted in the state, by 2021, that area tripled, was multiplied by 3 and reached the figure of almost 28,000 hectares, according to the CAP data, so the Agricultural and Fisheries Information Services. However, that's the data that's what reported. However, studies that has been carried out by the environmental authorities in Jalisco estimates that around 31,600 hectares of established avocado in 2020, according with the last land use change analysis. And that area occupied by avocado orchards in 2021 is little more than double than reported. So we have a distance and a huge gap between the data that has been reported and also the estimations that comes from the land use change analysis that have been developed in the last 2 years. So something that I want to point out here is it's not just about how it is increasing the land for avocado, it's about the acceleration and how quick it is reaching. And well, it is not just about the biodiversity and all the practices that we can have within the orchards. The avocado production requires careful management, and much of attention and effort has been put into improving the agricultural practices within the orchards, most of that to increase productivity. And I think we're doing very well on that. We have been handling the orchards from the inside, and that's great. But we cannot be only aware of the number of species that we can find within the avocado orchards, because its expansion has also represented a greater use of agricultural chemicals and water, regardless of the aptitudes of the territory. And this is also a threat beyond the orchard's boundaries. And just an example, we did a study for biological connectivity in Sierra de Tapalpa region. And you can see on the map the connectivity between habitats for large mammals like puma, jaguar, deers, and that it's, I mean, connectivity, it's a possibility or not that these animals can have to move in the region to satisfy their needs. The greener lights that you can see between the green, between the green habitats, the green spots are the easiest ways to communicate, and the red ones are the hardest. So it's just an example of how the expansion of the orchards, it's not just having an impact within the orchards or in the spot that are having, but also in the fragmenting, how they're fragmenting the corridors, not only to the change in land use, but also to the collateral effects that the activity has, like the opening of roads, soil degradation, competition for water, change in vegetation, presence of agrochemicals. So if we zoom out from the orchard boundaries, we will see that these small changes in land use can have also a cumulative effect that represents threats in other order on a regional scale, right? And all these eventually also brings social conflicts, as Alfredo was saying at the beginning, as we have begun to see disputes over the water use for human consumption, and although some others, absolutely, this has a public costs that are not being internalized. And well, with all that, I like to say that I'm optimist. It was just to say that we cannot hide that, and it's important to put that into the table. We are celebrating whole the market, then the increasing market that avocado has been reaching, but just it was very important to put that at the beginning. About the avocado market, well, Alfredo and Armando has already said a lot of this. The avocado continues to be a highly demanded fruit in the import markets, particularly in the United States and the European Union. And what we are seeing is that the avocado market, it's projected to experience per capita gains of between 6 and 8% between 2022 and 2026. You know, and something very important here is that we have seen that importers play a central role in the distribution of these avocados. And you are familiar with all the different requirements of the end clients and are able to distribute to different market channels, such as wholesalers and supermarkets. And also some of the importers have their own ripening and packing facilities, right? So I'm going to move to the next one. Well, what we're doing, what the Rainforest Alliance is doing, you should know we are an international NGO. We're trying to change our food system, beginning with meeting the needs of people, specifically farmers in critical landscapes, trying to kick off a flywheel effect that can bring positive change to everybody who is touched by these markets, right? So we want to try. We are creating. We are in the mission to create a more sustainable world by using social and market forces to protect nature and improve the lives of the farmers and forest communities. And well, specifically, what we're doing here in Jalisco and regarding to avocado production and trade in Jalisco, well, we have this partnership with the government in Jalisco and with APEAJAL to avoid, well, to play some activities to avoid deforestation, but also to promote certification, avocado certification, specifically our program of certification program, the Rainforest Alliance certification. Through these partnerships, we have been piloting the land scale project in Sierra de Tapalpa, and we have been promoting reforestation, fire prevention, soil conservation, and other sustainability practices. Now we're all using land scale to map avocado lands for traceability for deforestation-free avocados. We did land use change analysis with SEMADET last year. And we are working to develop, I will say, a map that can help us identify what the deforestation is having or taking place, and how we can match that with the eligibility maps for avocados, so we can know, or we can have a report system for the orchards that are not having deforestation, so they can register their orchards to the Secretariat for Agriculture. So, and something that we're working also, we're currently working on a strategy to approach retailers in the United States with a pitch for sourcing Rainforest Alliance certified avocados. We think there is potential here. And well, what are the Rainforest Alliance certified volumes? We have been working since 2004 with avocado producers. The average substantial avocado is ranking the 6th place after bananas, orange, pineapple, melons, and grapes. And I want to share this. Well, you can see Mexico, how the certification volumes have changed. I'm talking just about the Rainforest Alliance certification, but you can see how the volumes have changed. Peru almost double their certification volumes in these years, 2019, 2020, and it's reaching 2021. And Colombia almost tripled its certified volume. And Mexico remained close to their previous years. It was not that significant as Peru or Colombia. This is why this is happening, because the European Union is the main importer of avocados from Peru and Colombia, and there is an increasing demand from the buyers to guarantee sustainability schemes and build more trustable traceability systems. This is the force of the market, and why we think it is important. All the certified avocado of Mexico that it's certified, and figures here, it's from Jalisco. It's from Jalisco state. So, well, some opportunities that we see, there's a consensus that seems positive towards certification avocados. The avocado cultivation is increasing worldwide, so it represents a good opportunity. And something very important, we see that we need to acknowledge the risks that are inherent in avocado farming, to value the efforts that mitigate against many of these risks. I mean, we cannot just hide that the avocado industry, it's all great and it is okay. We have to highlight also the risks, to value the efforts that we are doing. Our certification in avocado right now, most of the certification mechanisms do not address the environmental and social problems of avocado production in an integrated way. None of those certifications that are mainly used consider deforestation or biodiversity loss in a landscape approach. So we see this an opportunity, and this is why we have been promoting the Rainforest Alliance certification program. That well, our program is made up of 3 principal components that are designed to work closely with each other. The sustainable agriculture standard, that it's main that gives the requirements that has to be completed, the assurance system, and the data systems and tools, right? This certification program, it's designed for producers, in this case for avocado producers who are committed to sustainable agriculture and wants a continuous improvement. It's not just like a checklist to say, yeah, we passed. It's designed to give back or to promote a continuous improvement and to also to give some training, prescribing some practices, and focusing on enabling and measuring the improvements towards sustainability outcomes. I'm not gonna go deep here. Yeah, it is an improvement process. Our vision it's to go beyond, right, this traditional pass and fail approach of sustainability standards, and we see these more like a towards that going towards promoting continuous improvement through insights from data and more also accurate measurements of progress. Well, the standard yeah has a lot of requirements. I just want to point out the 6 components we see within the standard, the component of management, how it's managed, or how the farm is or the orchard is managed in an efficient, transparent, inclusive way. The traceability that wants to provide the producers with a framework to accurately and credibly record the quantities of production and also the operations, the income and shared responsibility, the farming that focuses on the outcomes of the sustainable agricultural practices, well, the social that wants to empower producers and workers to realize better working and living conditions, and also, and this is very important, the environment, in which outlines the pathways for certified farms to have a positive impact on the planet. Right? Well, we have seen that reputational risk is increasing. Well, just to mention that the Rainforest Alliance certified seal has also gained awareness. The seal means that the certified products were produced using methods that support the pillars of sustainability. Well, just the case of Jalisco. Jalisco, well, we've seen that the Jalisco avocado exports grew in the last years, even and despite the global economic crisis that was generated by the pandemic. It was an upward trend that it is indicative for the global avocado market. And for Jalisco, the certified avocado was all the Mexican certified avocado. It was around 28,000 kilograms and corresponding to 1,800 hectares. And if we see that, but the same year, the production area reported was just 27,000, according to the data. we're seeing that only 6.7% of the reported production was certified. So it's just a little. And the producers recognize the costs and some difficulties in implementing the standards. There are strict requirements to adopting certification in general. And there is, I mean, maybe one of the main issues to adopt the Rainforest Alliance certification is the limited demand, and also the standard is not being profitable for the producers. And this is why we see that the exigence in the markets in terms of sustainability are becoming more important. Yeah. That way we can see, and they or the producers can see the added value in adopting the standard. And in this case, no. And in the other part, something to consider. We have seen, yeah, we're concerned about this case that the United States government just authorized the commercialization of avocados harvested in Jalisco just in July of the last year. It is easier to export to the US than Europe. Alfredo was very clear on that. There is less, and in the US, there is less concern on social and environmental issues, and it's easier to about logistics, land transportation, and all that, right? On the other hand, we have this submission that was made to the Commission for the Environmental Cooperation in February, that it's pointing that Mexico is failing to protect forests and water resources in Michoacán from the environmental impacts and the deforestation caused by the continued expansion of avocado. So we have these two considerations to take in place. And what we see in this scenario, right? I want to say two things. Yeah. Let me see. I'm sorry. Yeah. We see, well, we need an integrated value chain approach for avocado. We have we want to point out that sustainable agriculture is responsibility of the entire supply chain, and these are the points that focus on that. And also this shared responsibility approach for avocado industry, right? We're looking for a balance where the rewards and of sustainable production are also between brands and traders, but also producers, and the risks also. Yeah. So how we connect all the stakeholders towards more sustainable production and consumption. Well, the Rainforest Alliance certification program is just one tool, but what I want to invite you all is how we change and try to have this approach to the table. Final remarks. The environmental and social impacts of avocado production are a real and a very urgent challenge to face. It's not just the extension, but the acceleration that it is taking. Let's zoom out from Jalisco. It is spreading and leaking into other territories with low institutional enforcement capacity. It's a potential global threat. I mean, right now we're talking about Jalisco and all the efforts that we are taking on place, but if the market keeps growing and the opportunity remains for the farmers, this is going to spread out all over the place. And this is just not happening in Jalisco. We have seen increasing orchards in Nayarit, in the state of Mexico, in Guanajuato, some other places that doesn't have they're not prepared to have all these, right? So, and we are not just talking about Mexico. This is happening also in Chile, in Peru, in Colombia. Right, so we have to think big in this concern, because it is happening in the certain places where we are taking actions. Yeah, it's going to be deployed, but that is happening then, and it's going outside to other territories, right? Well, the market is growing, so we can play the long term, right? There is an opportunity. It's not, we are not closing this. And something that I want to point out again, we need to communicate proactively. We have to say, yeah, there are some risks in this industry, but we are taking huge efforts to do it in the good way, so we can value the efforts that we're doing. And yeah, the regulation and law enforcement in the origin territories is not going to be enough. We have seen, and right now the Secretary of Environmental of Jalisco is gonna talk us a little bit more of that. But we have there have been some regulations that are more strict to face that, but it's not going to be enough, right? The increasing expansion of unsustainable avocado is driven by the market demand for a product, and we need a committed for sustainability demand from buyers and the market. And I want to just bring the case and the example of the the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil example. And there is a growing demand for consumers for traceability and transparency of their products, right? And the promotion of the consumer territories to strengthen non-deforestation supply chain regulations. Now we're seeing how the Green Deal is being developed and in the European Union. And last, well, the sustainable avocado production is responsibility of the entire supply chain. Yeah, there's a need to balance the rewards and share the risks of production. Well, the recommendations, it's just, well, the market is giving us an incredible opportunity to showcase how to do it the right way. I want to close with that. We can engage with the APEAJAL, the government of Jalisco, to buy avocados that have been sustainable produced, even though if they're not certified by the Rainforest Alliance, just to make sure that they have not caused deforestation and they are complying with the sustainability requirements. And right now, what we have been seeing, this first step that we have been taking with APEAJAL and the government of Jalisco is how we design an avocado map system that can report against an eligibility zone to guarantee that the orchard registered has not provoked deforestation. This is like an entry point towards more rigorous sustainability schemes, maybe a certification. But right now, how we can be sure that the orchards that are increasing into the territory are not provoking deforestation. Well, let's differentiate and promote the Jalisco avocado as a product that has systematic efforts for sustainability. I will say that let's start building the market for sustainable avocado. If it is not already in place, let's build it. And well, thinking big, maybe in some midterm, I think we should integrate a roundtable for sustainable avocado. I mean, this case for the palm oil comes to my mind as something that can be really, really good for the avocado industry also. And how we can bring other consumer territories to engage and to commit with sustainable avocado. And that's all from me. And thank you for the word.
Thank you very much, Santiago, for this perspective from you as an international NGO, very active in Jalisco in the field of avocados. And also thank you for your recommendation towards Dutch or European or other importers. We are gathering the questions, so everyone that has asked the questions, we have got them here under control. So you will have the opportunity to get an answer after the next presentation, the final presentation for today, which will be a presentation by the Ministry of Environment of Jalisco. So we've had now the private sector, we've had the civil society or NGO, and we will now have the government of Jalisco. And we're very pleased to have two speakers, I believe, from the Ministry of Environment and Territorial Development of Jalisco. We will start with the Minister, Minister Israel Garcia Ochoa. So react to the study and present the initiatives that the government is doing in Jalisco to ensure sustainability of the avocado trade. And we will also have Carmen Gomez Lozano, who is Director in the Ministry of Biological Corridors and Watersheds. And we are happy to have both of them on this session. And hereby I give the floor to Minister Garcia Ochoa.
Muchísimas gracias. Muy buenos días a todas y a todos. Muchas gracias por la invitación a esta presentación para construir un diálogo directo con los socios neerlandeses. Desde el gobierno del estado es muy alentador saber que existe interés por parte de Países Bajos en buscar alianzas que impulsen la producción sustentable del aguacate. Le cedo el uso de la voz a Carmen Gómez Lozano, directora de Corredores Biológicos y Cuencas de la Secretaría de Medio Ambiente y Desarrollo del Estado.
Gracias, secretario. Muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Sin duda, contar con un diagnóstico inicial del problema es valioso para saber de dónde partimos. Felicidades a la Embajada de los Países Bajos por esta iniciativa. Al respecto, es importante resaltar que el cultivo de aguacate es uno de los principales causantes de deforestación en el estado, junto con el cultivo de agave para tequila y de la producción de carne de libre pastoreo. Si bien la deforestación no es tan importante para los aguacates que se exportan a Europa, como mencionó Alfredo Cuarón en su estudio, sí es muy importante en el conjunto de la superficie sembrada, y la promoción de la superficie deforestada en relación a la total es cada vez mayor. Es evidente que Jalisco ha tenido desde hace una década un aumento considerable en la producción de aguacate, y esto ha significado muchas veces la pérdida de bosques, incluyendo bosques dentro de áreas naturales protegidas. Hablar de deforestación va mucho más allá de perder bosques, y es que, como mencionaban nuestros ponentes anteriores, tiene impactos importantes en biodiversidad, y aquí es importante mencionar que, pues, aunque no existen estudios específicos para Jalisco, pues Jalisco es el cuarto estado con mayor biodiversidad del país, entonces los impactos van a ser fuertes. También hay impactos sociales y existen riesgos en las comunidades, como por ejemplo deslaves. Existe y aumenta la dinámica de fuegos forestales vinculadas a cambios de uso de suelo. También observamos asolve y contaminación en cuerpos de agua y un consumo excesivo de agua y sobreexplotación de acuíferos. Todos estos impactos ambientales, algunos de ellos mencionados en el estudio, se relacionan directamente con la pérdida de bosques. También nos gustaría destacar un par de puntos del estudio que nos gustaron mucho. El enfoque de organizar a pequeños productores, de organizar cooperativas, nos parece una línea de trabajo importante, porque sabemos que hay muchos productores, pequeños productores, que lo están haciendo bien. Y la segunda que nos gustaría destacar, la relevancia y la mención que le dan al tema de los ordenamientos de la tierra, los ordenamientos regionales, que se constituye como una estrategia de los municipios para regular el uso del suelo. En resumen, el estudio nos ofrece un panorama de la situación y sienta las bases para construir los siguientes pasos. Le doy la palabra al secretario Jorge Israel García Ochoa.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, en este sentido, la actuación gubernamental de Jalisco ha sido contundente. Hemos construido sólidas políticas públicas estatales enfocadas a detener la deforestación y ordenar el territorio. Contamos con estrategias específicas como la Estrategia Estatal de Cambio Climático, la Estrategia Estatal para reducir la deforestación y degradación forestal, conocida como RED+, la estrategia de integración de la biodiversidad en el sector agropecuario. Y bueno, de lo que ya hemos hablado, 11 ordenamientos regionales que están construyéndose o fueron ya terminados. Acerca de las cadenas productivas libres de deforestación, tenemos un referente estatal que es ARA, Agave Responsable con el Ambiental. En colaboración con el Consejo Regulador del Tequila, firmamos un convenio de colaboración en el año 2019 durante la COP de Cambio Climático en Madrid, a partir del cual se acordó no registrar para tequila plantaciones de agave que queden fuera del área de compatibilidad definida por el gobierno del estado. Contamos con un mapa de compatibilidad de cultivo que se define por el bosque o no bosque del año 2016 y una plataforma que se construyó para revisar polígonos que emite reportes de compatibilidad. Y además se construyó un mecanismo de controversias para atender inconformidades que pudieran existir de este mecanismo. El resultado son más de 300,000 litros de tequila certificado como libre de deforestación y más de 7,500 hectáreas de bosque que no han entrado a la cadena de agave tequila. Específicamente con aguacate, contamos con varias acciones ya realizadas. Colaboraciones con APEAJAL a través del fideicomiso forestal, el FIPRODEFO, produciendo planta forestal para reforestación de particulares, diálogos con SACBÉ Federal y Comité Estatal de Sanidad sobre el diseño de políticas para la producción sustentable de aguacate, firma de un convenio de colaboración con SACBÉ, SACBÉ, Rainforest Alliance en el 2019-2024 y bueno, mencionar lo que ya aquí se ha dicho, que los únicos lotes de México certificados con Rainforest Alliance del año 2018 provienen de Jalisco. Países Bajos es un actor clave para promover la producción sustentable de aguacate y no me refiero específicamente a impulsar producción orgánica, que sin duda también es una aspiración, sino más específicamente a una producción de aguacate que garantice la no deforestación. En el contexto del mercado internacional, tienen como consumidores el poder de exigir productos de calidad y ambientalmente responsables. Ahí tenemos una gran oportunidad. Desde nuestro punto de vista, incluir el aguacate en el Pacto Verde Europeo ha sido un gran paso que se ha dado para detonar cambios importantes hacia la sostenibilidad del sector. Habría que seguirlo impulsando. Además, consideramos sumamente relevante el fortalecimiento de la cooperación técnica entre México y los Países Bajos para, en conjunto, poder abastecer la demanda de productos certificados libres de deforestación. Consideramos que dicha cooperación puede darse en 3 fases. Y con esto estamos pasando a concretamente qué pudiéramos hacer. La primera fase se puede poner en operación a lo mucho en 4 meses y considera 3 elementos fundamentales. Replicando el conocimiento y la experiencia que se ha tenido con el tequila, el desarrollo de una plataforma en línea para la compatibilidad de los cultivos de aguacate. En esta se podría visualizar el mapa de compatibilidad y obtener reportes de parcelas compatibles, así como acceder a un mecanismo específico de controversia. El segundo elemento implica mesas de cooperación específicas para el aguacate, en donde participe el gobierno federal y se ponga sobre la mesa la vinculación de certificaciones fitosanitarias con las zonas libres de deforestación. Y el tercero, se considera un organismo externo que audite los procesos y asegure la transparencia de esta certificación, con lo que se le daría todo el peso y garantía a este proceso. La segunda fase, la fase más a mediano plazo, implica el desarrollo de un organismo regulador para la cadena productiva del aguacate, el cual debería construirse en conjunto con la industria. Dicho organismo permitirá avanzar hacia el desarrollo de un sistema único de trazabilidad por lote para dar más solidez y transparencia a la certificación. La tercera fase considera realizar a mediano plazo y plantea la necesidad de añadir valor a los bosques para contrarrestar el diferencial económico actual entre huertos de aguacate y bosques naturales. Para esto se plantea articular el manejo sustentable de los bosques con la producción de aguacate mediante el embalaje sustentable proveniente de cartón o madera certificada. Desarrollar esquemas para pago de servicios ambientales para el sector forestal y promover esquemas de agricultura regenerativa para los cultivos de aguacate. En Jalisco estamos seguros que actuar es urgente. Así hemos trabajado y ahora tenemos la oportunidad de mejorar e impulsar modelos innovadores que nos permitan garantizar las exigencias del mercado, asegurando que Jalisco no exporta deforestación y cumple con la legislación. De nuestra parte, cuenten con nosotros para encaminar acciones hacia ese rumbo y estamos muy agradecidos de participar en este foro y ser parte de él. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Minister Garcia and Carmen Gomez, for your presentation and the interesting recommendations you're providing here for action by the different parties. We have some questions in the chat box that that we will go to now. First of all, there was a question from Jose Villa Castillo, directed to APEAJAL, Armando, about the reforestation initiative of APEAJAL, and especially about the type of trees that you're using for the reforestation initiative, and what type of trees they are. And the question was specifically that in the pictures on the presentation that you showed, Jose saw exotic species, and his recommendation is to reforest with native species. Is that something you can answer, Armando?
Sure, Eric. Thank you for the question, Pepe. We are producing three different species in our nursery. Two of them are pines, two native species of pines, and the other one is cypress. Cupressus lusitanica is the scientific name. This last one, which Pepe Villa refers to as an exotic species, there are several studies that shows that this species is present in Jalisco forest. As an example, if you go to Parque Nacional of Nevado de Colima, you can see just when you get in the park, some of these trees in an adult stage. This species is used for avocado producers to make to be planted in the border of the orchard. So we are not using this particular tree to make reforestations with local communities. With local communities, we use pines, the two species of pines that we are producing in the nursery.
Thank you very much, Armando. There were also some questions for Santiago, and I'm going to bundle them. One question by Francisco Martinez of Wageningen University, and I think you already explained this, Santiago, but maybe once again, the question is, why is there so little Rainforest Alliance certification in Mexico compared to other Latin American countries? Related to this, a question by Leah Beinsdorp, also to Santiago. Is Mexico losing an opportunity in international markets, especially to sell directly to international supermarkets, seeing the percentage of Rainforest Alliance adoption or awareness, I think, in the US or European markets. And well, I think those two questions are related, so I'll give you the opportunity to answer those two at the same time, Santiago.
Thanks, Eric. Well, the first one, it's mainly because all the Rainforest Alliance certified avocado, it's imported to the European Union, mainly to the European Union. And in terms of business, it is easier for the Jalisco producers to sell the avocado to the United States than to the European Union. So the incentive is not enough. Well, the prime that some markets are not paying the costs to get the avocado in the European Union. That's what is happening. I mean, if we see the competitiveness, we see that Peru and Colombia are more suitable to reach the European market in terms of logistics. So the costs are lower, and that's why the certification in Mexico is not having the same projections that Colombia and Peru are having right now, and that's why we're concerned with the possibility to export the Jalisco avocado to the United States. That's gonna be growing. That situation is gonna be growing, because the opportunity for the producers, it's so much easier to import to the United States than the European Union. And they're not having enough incentives to keep trying to import to the European Union right now. That's why that explains the figures that I show. So what we want to do, it's we need to convince the North American, the US market, to be more exigent into sustainability requirements. So they need to provide guarantees. Well, and it can be with certification or any other schemes, but that pushes the producers to take this in count. That's why. And to the second question, if we are losing an opportunity, I think, I'm not sure, and that's why we are concerned, because right now the business for the avocado in Jalisco, it's in the US, not in Europe. And right now we don't see that that's gonna change a lot. Well, we will see with this submission to the Commission of Environmental Cooperation, how this evolves. What we see is the business is just going business as usual in the US. There is an increasing reputational risk, and at some point with that happening and the Green Deal happening in Europe, we're expecting to see that the US also raise their bar to the sustainability requirements that are asking for the avocado and other products. But that's not in our hands. So what we're looking is, we're reaching some of the market buyers in the US that have claimed publicly sustainability goals and other commitments, so we can work with them, building this relationship and all the shared responsibility in the value chain, so they can be they can show the will to participate, and they also contribute in the investments that are needed to get the value chain certified all along the way. What we have seen is that there's a difference between the Michoacán producers and the Jalisco producers. And the Jalisco producers have been developing their production systems to reach the European market, so they're more suitable and more prepared to comply with these sustainability requirements that the producers from Michoacán and other states, because of the blockage that they have with the US markets. So they're more prepared, that's for sure. Right now, they're just seeing the opportunity to open the door to the United States, so they're seeing the business there. But yeah, absolutely, the Jalisco producers are more prepared, and they will not have the gap to meet those requirements are going to be smaller than the producers that are all around the country, because they have been developing their business around the US market.
Thank you very much, Santiago. There are more questions coming in. I would also like to take this opportunity to encourage some of the importers that we have today in our session to react to the recommendations that we have heard from the different speakers, and especially to get involved in some of the initiatives. And this would be a question from me to the importers. What do you think is feasible in that sense, and what could you as an importer do specifically in Mexico or Jalisco to contribute to these initiatives and to a more sustainable value chain? So this is an open question to the importers in our midst. Going back to the questions in the chat box, there's a question about from Napoleon Cornejo, and this is a question I think which can be directed to any of the speakers. Maybe Semadet would be the most appropriate, or Armando. This is about the EU deforestation regulation. Recently, the European Union adopted this regulation, which basically says that any product entering the European market should not be produced in areas that have recently been deforested. Now, avocado is not yet included in this initiative or in this regulation, but the idea is to review and to revise the list of products, and in the future, avocado may be included in this regulation. And the question by Napoleon is the sector ready if this happens? So maybe this is, as I said, a question that is best answered by the Ministry of Environment, or maybe Armando has ideas on this as well.
Con mucho gusto. Si bien es cierto que aún el aguacate no está incorporado, lo que sí sabemos es que como gobierno del estado tenemos ya avanzado un programa que funciona, que es el agave responsable ambiental. Y sabemos cómo operarlo, sabemos cómo funcionan. Básicamente creemos que lo que necesitamos es que el mercado, las organizaciones, ONGs, productores, gobiernos de los tres órdenes de gobierno, municipal, estatal y federal, trabajemos rápido para replicar este modelo que ya sabemos que funciona. Y como lo mencionaba hace un momento en la presentación, siendo muy concretos en cuáles son las fases que tendríamos oportunidad de arrancar, específicamente primero con esta. Es decir, poder saber de los productores que actualmente tienen ranchos de aguacate, cuáles ya cumplen. Eso es algo que podríamos hacer en muy corto tiempo, puesto que la metodología, el sistema, el personal lo tenemos listo. Realmente lo que necesitamos es ponernos de acuerdo, ponernos a trabajar, quizás un poco de inversión, y estaríamos listos en poder certificar a nivel de cuáles sí cumplen y trabajar en una certificación que pueda ser funcional y aceptada por la Unión Europea. Pero acerca de si estamos listos para el 2025, yo creo que a la velocidad que vamos y si nos ponemos todos de acuerdo, seguro estaremos ahí.
Thank you, Israel. Armando, is there something you want to add to that?
Thank you, Eric. Yes, we are aware about this European initiative. And we are working with the local government, with the Ministry of Environment of the government of Jalisco, to develop this strategy and this tool to identify which avocado producers didn't make a land use change for plant avocados. We are sure the vast majority of them will be into this scheme, but we have to develop the tool. I believe the European Union is setting the baseline in 2020. That's something that we are aware. We would like to work in that way with this specific tool that is being developed in the Ministry of Environment. And yes, we have to prepare for this because European Union is what European Union does. Probably it's going to be done in the future in other markets. And we want to classify these two groups of avocados, those who didn't commit deforestation and those who probably did. But in this way, if the European Union requires the avocado to commit to this specific law, we already have all these classifications. So I believe that if we work together and if we work fast, we will be prepared to attend this challenge in the next years.
Thank you, Armando. I'd like to go to the question now by Adolfo from Wageningen University. And what Adolfo is saying, 417 million kilograms of avocados are imported to the EU every year. 62% of these arrive via Rotterdam. 30% is waste. And I'm not sure if that's 30% of those avocados, or if that's in general, or of the agricultural trade, or of avocados in specific, or of those imported by Rotterdam. But anyway, a lot of waste. At Wageningen University, we're working on food system circularity and the use of insects to add value and to eliminate the waste. But one of the problems that we find is the plastic stickers. Any idea or option to change the traceability system to eliminate the stickers? I think this might be something that importers in our midst might have an answer to, or perhaps Armando. And I think there's also an answer now to this, or an answer to this question by one of the people in our midst who points to lasers as a possible solution. Thank you, Estuardo. Is there someone else who would like to comment on that?
Well, I think he refers to PLUs, the stickers that are placed on the avocados. Nowadays, this sticker is part of the traceability systems of the industry, and even for the importers and exporters. I don't know if there's an initiative to avoid them, but it's a good insight. I didn't know that this was a problem for the the treatment of waste of avocados. Thank you for the insight.
Thank you, Armando. Then we have a question to the ministry from Francisco Martinez, also of Wageningen University. And the question is there any progress in the establishment of the Regulatory Council for avocados, just as you have a Regulatory Council for tequila? You mentioned that an idea was to set up this Regulatory Council for avocado. So the question is, what's the progress and in setting up these avocados? And maybe an additional question related to that is about the roundtables you mentioned in your presentation. You mentioned that you will set up roundtables to look into the different recommendations that you've provided for sustainability in the avocado sector. Perhaps you can also comment on that. What are you planning to do specifically to set up these roundtables, and are you planning also to involve importers in those roundtables?
Contestando primero la pregunta acerca del Consejo Regulador, esto es algo que se ha venido discutiendo en diferentes momentos con los diferentes actores. Creemos que hay condiciones para empezar a construirla, porque además, insisto, hay referentes que funcionan y funcionan bien. Hay que entender que la naturaleza de este consejo tiene particularidades que hay que atender, pero sin embargo el marco se conoce bien y se tienen buenos referentes. Entonces, no, acerca de que si hay avances concretos, aparte de las pláticas, solamente hemos ido dando forma a esta idea y por eso lo planteábamos en una fase 2, no en una fase inmediata. Pero es indispensable seguir platicando y hablando acerca de esto y ir concretando pasos para llegar a ello. Respecto a las mesas redondas, creo que ese es un tema que de alguna manera se han estado dando. Sí tenemos que ir ampliando los actores que en estas mesas redondas participan, y creo que es el momento de hacerlo, de irlo ampliando. Hablábamos de para esta primera fase incluir a diferentes actores, evidentemente los productores, comercializadores y el gobierno federal, para poderle dar forma a esta primera fase o iniciativa de generar esta plataforma que pudiera irnos ofreciendo información y de cómo y quiénes cumplen con parcelas que no fueron deforestadas. Como lo comentaba Armando, habría que definir la línea base, a partir de qué año. 2020 es un año, 2016 es uno que tenemos en el estado, pero habría que definirlo, y por eso es que creemos que será muy importante establecer estas mesas de diálogo y de trabajo para ir concretando pasos seguros y dar paso en un corto plazo a un esquema que ya nos empiece a dar resultados.
Thank you very much, Israel. We're at 11 o'clock now, 10 o'clock in Mexico and 6 o'clock in the Netherlands or in Europe. So we're going to the, and I have one, before going to the end, just to mention that we have one question or one comment in the chat box from one of our importers in the Netherlands who is interested in this roundtable for avocado. So this is a very good comments, and which I'm hereby passing on to the Ministry of Environment. And this is exactly what we're trying to encourage, of course, as an embassy, to connect the Dutch traders with the sustainability initiatives in Mexico, and in particular in Jalisco, So we're very happy with that. I think we've managed to answer a lot of the questions in the chat box. There's still some discussion going on about the merits of reforestation, but I'm sure that discussion can be continued outside this session. And any other questions that have not been answered, we will make sure you get the answers after this session. For now, I'd like to thank once again all of the speakers that have been participating today. Alfredo, thank you very much for the study and for presenting the study, the result of the study. Armando, Santiago, Israel, Carmen, thank you very much for your additions, for your reactions, for the initiatives that you have presented. All the participants, we've had 80 participants throughout the session. So that's a sign again that this is a subject of interest to a lot of people in the sector, in the chain. And as mentioned before, as an embassy, we're very happy to be able to connect these actors, and hopefully this is only the beginning of these connections. We'd like to encourage everyone who wants to, especially on the Dutch side, who wants to get involved in these initiatives to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to connect you with the right people here in Mexico, as we do in our day-to-day job. We feel, of course, as I mentioned, as our ambassador mentioned at the beginning of the session, that we have a special responsibility as a major importer and exporter and consumer of avocados, and this is how we like to take this responsibility serious. So thank you once again, everyone. Have a good afternoon or evening in the Netherlands, and a good day in Mexico. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Al. Bye-bye.